a commercial pilot now. As of like right now, this moment, I am no longer a private pilot. They punched a hole in my private pilot thing. I can even show it to you. There's a hole in it. See? They put a hole in it. I am not a private pilot. I'm a commercial pilot. Now that means I can still exercise the privileges of private pilot. I will say that that check ride was probably the least stressful check ride I've had, period.
Wings 1448, flight heading 025, descend to maintain 5,000.
I've only had 3 check rides, so...
5,000, Wing 1448.
So, you know, it's not like the least out of 150 of them. It's the least out of 3. But I was a little bit nervous about a power off 180. I nailed it. Thank you, Jesus, for the help. I was nervous about chandelles, and I would say that if this is the box that you have to like fit all the chandelles, these are the standards you have to meet, I touched all the walls. I touched all of them, but I stayed within box.
Good evening, Noah 57, checking in 6,000.
Noah 57, Charleston, approach altimeter 3003.
3003, Noah 57.
Okay, let's get our power set at 5,000. We want 2,400. Okay, let's do a checklist. Fuel pump is off, landing light is off. All those are done. Cruise, 65% power is set, mixture is lean, instruments are good, fuel is on the direct tank. We will be on this until we get down to like 5 gallons, and then we are switching to the tip tanks.
Who's checking on?
Okay, so...
282 Alpha November.
Number 282 Alpha November, Charleston approach, altimeter 3002.
So we're coming back from the check ride, and I have filed IFR to go home because there's some visibility stuff happening between here and there that is not VFR, that is less than VFR minimums, and so, well, it's less than my VFR minimums. My VFR minimums were 5 statute miles, and it's, I saw some 4 statute miles visibility issues, so I filed IFR to, which of course have totally different minimums. Anyway, I'm on...
9070 Whiskey, contact approach 125.4.
125.4, 9070 Whiskey. Charleston approach, fly 0249 at 7,500 with you. Altimeter.
Altimeter is 3000.
000, Bravo Bravo Kilo. Shaw approach Cherokee 9070 Whiskey 5000.
Cherokee 9070 Whiskey, Shaw approach altimeter 3000.
300070 Whiskey.
And 1 Bravo Kilo, say type aircraft again?
CA32.
Okay, so the outside air temperature is 2468, and we are at a pressure altitude of roughly 5,000, so we'll put it there. It looks like we're doing 155 across the front. No, 5,000. Okay. We're doing 145 in the air. 145 miles per hour in the air, which is 127 knots. But we're doing 147 knots across the ground, so we have a like, nice little 20-knot tailwind. Oh yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the check ride. Let's talk about the check ride. So we first did all our landings. I would say that this guy, how do I say this in a kind way that is kind to the person who isn't here? This guy was thorough. he was 100% by the book. I mean, 100% by the book. And nothing was missed. I mean, it felt like what you expect in a check ride. Unlike, I will say, one of my other check rides where it felt totally like the DPE didn't do anything that I expected him to do. And I'm not gonna name names, I'm not gonna do anything like that, but this was by the book. There was one thing that was sort of unexpected. My long cross country, he looked at that and said, hey man, this cross country doesn't qualify because even though I flew a total of 463 nautical miles, no one of the legs was 250 nautical miles. And he's like, this one doesn't qualify. And I said, really? I thought that the way that it worked was any landing point had to be 250 nautical miles from the original starting point. And we went through and read the regulations, and he goes, no, I'm pretty sure that the FAA has interpreted that it needs to be a single leg. And then in a moment of like inspiration, he says, well, let me check 141 requirements. Not that this applies to you, maybe it's there. And then when checking the 141 requirements, he saw, oh, a single leg must be 250, and then he reread the qualification requirements, and it said something along the lines of, you know, a trip of at least...
United 365 Jack Center on guard, contact Jack Center 135.05, acknowledge good ident.
At least 300 nautical miles with 1 point and 3 full stops along the way with 1 point, I don't remember, I think it's 3 landings along the way, I don't think it's 3 full stops, but with 1 point at least 250 nautical miles from the original starting point. It has those words, from the original starting point. So once he saw that part 141 had the single leg requirement, he's like, oh, that must be what I was thinking. Anyway, I was a little bit scared for a second there because I'm like, holy crap, I got all the way down here and this is the thing that doesn't qualify me? Anyway, we got that cleared up. And then we went through ground and like...
River 3 Tango Romeo, descend and maintain 3000, when able, for page line of sight.
The ground was easy. I mean, it was not anywhere near any of the crazy stuff that I expected, that I was worried about happening, and like, what are you know, if you're in this situation, can you fly, and all these really, really gray areas, and it was just the sort of straight line, look, if you have operational control of the airplane, then you need a Part 135 or 121 certificate. If the other person owns the airplane and you don't, and they have operational control, then yes, you can do it, right? It was basically that simple. Like I had this whole flow memorized of, am I getting compensated? Yes or no? Am I going from place to place? Yes or no? Am I holding out? Yes or no? Do I have an IFR rating, right? This whole, and it was way less complex than that. It was the very simple stuff that made it, like, that made it easy. I was much more worried about all of the complexities of the regulations than I needed to be. And then we went through and looked at the sectional chart and talked about a whole bunch of different points on the sectional chart, and we talked about, you know, my flight plan, where I was trying to go to, and he asked me a bunch of stuff that basically was from Private Pilot. Now, one thing he asked me that I got wrong was, if you see this airport, does it have lighted runway? And I said, I saw on the screen the little L, and I'm like, yes, it does have a lighted runway. And then he says, what does that star mean? And I said, it means pilot-controlled runway. He said, are you sure? And I said, well, I was, but I guess I'm not anymore. He says, a lot of people make this mistake. The star L used to mean pilot-controlled runway, but now it actually means check further limitations. almost all of which are, the lights are pilot controlled.
635.
So, anyway, star L does not mean pilot controlled runway. It means check further limitations. Didn't know that. We talked a little bit about how the fuel system worked. We talked a little bit about hydraulics. We talked a little bit about basically the electrical system in the airplane. And then we went and did, he said, okay, you know, go do whatever you need, go get ready, but don't start pre-flighting the airplane. And he went to the bathroom, I went to the bathroom. I got out there, packed some stuff, basically got myself ready. And he said, okay, go ahead and pre-flight. And he watched me pre-flight, and I did a very thorough pre-flight. I called out everything. I did all the things that I would do in a pre-flight. And then I said, okay, I'm ready. Let's get in the airplane. And he gets in the airplane, and I go through my checklists like I normally do. I go through a full passenger brief. Oh, I forgot, during the, at the end of the oral portion, he went through a full brief of exactly what we were going to do. And he said, you know, we're going to do 8s on pylons. You have a choice between steep turns or steep spiral. You have a choice between chandelles or lazy 8s. And so I chose steep turns and chandelles. Just because I feel more comfortable with those. I probably feel slightly more comfortable with 8s on, or chandelles than lazy 8s, just a little bit. But I definitely feel a whole lot more comfortable with steep turns and steep spirals. So he tells me we're gonna like disable all of the GPS and all that kind of stuff. And we get out to our stuff, and he gives me a choice. Do you want to do all the landings first, or you want to do all the maneuvers first? And so we do a bunch of landings. First one starts off, it's going to be a short field takeoff. We do a short field takeoff. And then we get up in the air, and a normal landing, touch and go. We go back up in the pattern, and he says, okay, give me a soft field landing, and you're going to convert it into a soft field takeoff. And I'm like, oh, well, that's new. I've never done that before. So I do a soft field landing, and then I leave the flaps up. I planned not to put any flaps more than 2, because that's what I do for a soft field takeoff. And so I did a soft field landing, and like and then just did a soft field takeoff. And the thing about converting into a soft field takeoff is like, just like a touch and go, you're already like really fast, right? So you're gonna lift off really quickly, and this whole staying in ground effect, like I was in ground effect for like a blink, and I was already at BX and could climb out. So that was an interesting way to do a soft field takeoff. And then after that, I did my power up 180, and did that well. And then he had me go do a normal landing. And as we're coming on, he says, okay, I know it's really, really hard to see, but Wonder Woman's invisible airplane is on the runway, so go around. So I do a go around, and he says, and then from this, we're going to go on your cross country. And so I did a go around, and then I went to my first waypoint, went to the
Cirrus 903, Tango runway, we got the field inside, like to cancel.
Tango runway, roger, I for cancellation received, close VFR, change of advisory, previously approved.
Over to VFR.
Went to Smoke, which was one of my waypoints, and then we did clearing turns and slow flight, and then from clearing turns and slow flight, what did I do? Let me look up my track log and see. Oh, from clearing turns and slow flight, we went into 8s on pylons, and that looked good. And then he had me climb up and slow flight. Oh, that's the chandelle at the end. Okay, so we did slow flight. Oh, he had me do turns in slow flight. And then I did a steep turn. And then another clearing turns. I'm trying to remember. Anyway, I did a steep emergency descent. I did the aids on pylons. I did some chandelles. And then we went back. And as we were coming back, there was somebody that was coming in on a instrument approach, and I couldn't see them. And to deconflict the traffic, I just did 360s. And then came in and did my landing, and probably had the worst landing of all my landings. Was the very last one. And then we were done. And now I'm a commercial pilot.